We are fucking lost, aren't we?
Okay, that's rich. Let's see. We just passed the ravaged church. There's the blood pit. Ha! This way. Here we go.
The blood pit.
Ravaged church, the blood pit. You've seen one post-apocalyptic city, you've seen them all.
This is such a great short thing. Hello, everybody. My name is Robert, and I am your host.
And I'm Ray. Well, zombie Ray today because I got a bit of a flu, but you just have to live with that. And I'm down in Australia.
And
Gion forgot his name.
Gio, welcome to
and we have one of our favorite guests here that we might just make him a regular host. Miguel, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
There you go. That's what we want to hear. It's an epic entrance.
Miguel is the creator of the music that we were just listening to, isn't he?
Yes. So
Yeah.
if you ever heard science fiction remnants since its inception, point intended, you have probably heard all the variations of the music that Miguel has created for our show. So, Miguel,
Thank you, Miguel.
Miguel, where they can find your stuff?
My stuff, if you just run over to IG, put in Migs Angel, Miggz Angel, you'll come up. It's now a verified IG, so just go on there, check it out. I have all the links on there for Spotify, YouTube. I also stream on Twitch playing MMORPGs, and I role play and do fun stuff.
Awesome.
You gotta send me the link to that so I can tune in.
sexy.
Yes, please.
Awesome. Okay, so the mad scientist.
Yeah. So, what have you guys been watching this week? Sci-fi.
I go first.
Okay, you go first.
I go first. I'm watching Star Trek.
Really? What a shock! Who would have thunk it?
No shit.
So you guys, giving you an update, right? I'm still on the rewatch with the wife for Star Trek. We are season 2, The Next Generation. We're moving quite along, and I think I created a monster.
You did.
Because let me explain. I might be here, after work and relaxing, getting a beer, maybe putting an anime, watching an anime. My wife comes home and she sits next to me and then looks at me, and I'm like, okay, yeah. And she said, "Can you put another Star Trek episode?" But I'm watching my anime.
No, you're not. You're watching Star Trek.
You've created a demon. A demon.
Star Trek monster.
But we're having fun. I mean, I am really glad that that the idea behind it was she has always heard me in conversations about Star Trek. And again, if you're wondering why I get distracted while I'm talking, then that means you need to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you see what Captain Chaos is posting on a post-it notes. Because I'm not going to give you context.
I want to see how his IG, that IG story that he made about getting his certain part of his body tattooed. How's that going?
Yeah. It's still going.
Yes, sir. Look down there. Look at the bottom of the screen, Miguel.
Oh my God! There it is. 10K tattoo. I'm gonna promote that. I'm gonna put $100 into promoting it on IG. You're gonna get
Go
that
ahead,
tattoo,
bro.
artificially or not. You're gonna get it.
Hey,
Oh God!
subscribers
Audio
on
listeners
YouTube,
out there.
bro. I'm gonna make a poll. Decide bad one. Put in my ass.
For all of you
Sci-fi
listeners
team,
out there, if you want to
of
make
course.
it happen, please help us promote that. We need to get subscribers on YouTube, and then Geo is yours.
Geo's ass is your canvas.
Literally.
Oh wow. So yeah, that's what I'm watching. I'm watching Star Trek. I'm on various anime. But overall, I'm having a lot of fun because I'm having a lot more in-depth conversations with my wife in a way that she is not getting lost anymore. And just to give you a little context, I would play, I would put in either a movie or an episode that I'm watching. And because she has no idea what's going on, I would find myself pausing, going to YouTube, finding a clips to explain what's going on, and then going back to the episode. And a 45-minute episode turned out to be maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, because I have to pause and put YouTube videos, which I didn't mind. But right now, we're able to play entire episodes without having to stop. And as a matter of fact, she stops to point out things that she remembered happened before. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't remember that, but that is a good catch. So we're having that type of connection, and I really like it. So yeah, I'm having fun with my rewatch of Star Trek.
Cool. What have you been watching, Geo? No, sorry, not your OnlyFans, SciFi.
We're watching a gem.
Yeah, no Pornhub, okay?
No, I don't watch.
Absolutely
Not anymore.
disgusting.
You made a typo. Ha 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 ha.
That was deliberate.
That was deliberate. You don't know what that means?
Pornhub. I mean,
No.
I've been rewatching a gem, one of my favorite movies of all, which we have blacklisted, and we need to actually bring it off to talk about it before it becomes a classic and nobody knows about it anymore.
Oh yes.
I actually rewatched it yesterday.
Didn't Inception make it off the list for a short amount of time and then it fell back on again?
Yeah, we're so afraid.
No, I think
it's one of those. We're gonna have
Tenet.
to do a two-parter.
We removed not yet.
Yeah, Tenet. I'm
Perhaps.
totally afraid. Tenet.
So how did it come off the list? You guys sat there and then you talked for more than like 3 hours about it. You're like, this podcast is going to be way too long. Let's not do this. It's going to take days.
Yeah, that Tenet.
That's pretty much how it happened.
Yeah, so we basically see the engagement that we have on a particular IP.
Yeah, this sounds better.
And if there's stuff like for example, Tenet, we're like this. You know what? This is going to turn out to be a 4-hour, 5-hour show, and we can't do this. So we have to put it on the blacklist.
Yeah.
But
there's
we
a
might
limit.
have to do it like a part
Robert, a
one.
limit here for recording. Yeah.
Well, technically we don't have a limit, but I don't know. It's 4 hour for an episode. I mean, I have heard some. I have heard some episodes, so I have no problem with it. But yeah, I think it's better to keep it around 2 hours, just around. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what happens. That's what happened with Interstellar. That's what happened. Matrix was one of those too.
I still want to do Matrix.
Yeah, me too. So I'm sorry.
So Miguel, they are not blacklisted because we don't want to talk about it. It's because we're afraid of how
blacklisted because you want to talk about it too much.
the episode is gonna be.
Basically.
Exactly.
Hey Miguel, what have you been watching?
I mean, think about it.
Recently?
We've done. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gio's got a little late to the party. I haven't really been watching anything.
He's the latest.
I've been working on music. Like I have so many different projects. It's hard for me to like sit down and like watch one thing. But if I could have like one day, I think Sundays would probably be the day where I just like don't do anything and I'm like, all right, let's turn on the TV and watch something.
Cool.
But there are some, like I was saying before the podcast, I do want to rewatch the old Gundam, like the old Japanese Gundam and stuff like that.
Nice.
Because I remember watching those as a kid; those were pretty cool. But I like cybernetic things. Godzilla and stuff like that. If I do watch.
I might have an anime for you.
Cyberpunk is
Brand new. It's about a Gundam mech.
Which
What?
of Mercury?
Mercury. Which
Yeah.
Mercury? It's if you get a chance, go ahead and watch that and let me know. I don't know if you are into mechs and Gundams. I think you might want to say thank you after you watch it, because I am. This is one of those shows that I am actually letting it pile up, because since the episodes are like 24 minutes long, I finish it and I have a big hole in my heart. So I usually let 2 or 3 episodes pile up so I don't feel so empty. But it's a really good, and we should cover in this episode. In this podcast, we should cover at least the first episode.
Well, I'm still Mandalorian top. God, that's hard to say.
Yes.
The Mandalorian up to episode 6 was great, and then episode 7 just went, oh, we forgot how to write. Wow.
I've heard that. I've heard I haven't watched it, but I've heard the reviews. Yeah.
It's really interesting because I see
Bro, come over. I have
Ray's
Disney Plus
coming
here.
from. Yeah, I see where Ray's coming from, and I have seen the reviews online, right? And I do understand the point. Yet in my household, me and my wife love that episode. So I always find that really interesting how everybody, has its own opinion. Have you seen it? Without saying any spoilers, obviously. Miguel, have you seen that episode?
But we do spoilers all the time. What are you talking about?
Mandalorian?
Yeah.
I haven't watched it. Maybe just like the first episode. I like Star Wars, but I like the original Star Wars. I haven't delved off into the alternative stuff.
Well, you should give Mandalorian. If you give one a chance, give Mandalorian a chance, because this show is amazing. It's really amazing.
Yeah, I got to say that there were some pretty easy ways to fix some of the stuff they did, which I thought was a bit stupid. But the closing scene, it was like, oh yeah, I got this Darksaber thing. It's like, oh man,
what kind of shit is this?
These Star Wars kind. Panther fodder.
They get a lightsaber.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to get my lightsaber. I got approved by the boss to buy a lightsaber.
Ooh.
And I think I'm going to get Mando's.
Mangoes? Get some mangoes.
I guess that's good.
Get some mangoes.
Know that the Mandalorian is they call it Mando.
He's Cuban? She's Cuban? Am I what?
Mando.
That's the one.
Oh, that's cool looking.
That's the one I'm getting. The one from the Mandalorian.
Nice. The LGBT Darksaber. I like that.
So yeah, I can't wait. I got approved. So
Soul Saber.
Wait, put it up. What does it look? Wait, put it back. Is that like one of the actual ones from the series?
Yeah, that's the one that he uses. That
looks cool as shit. It doesn't even look like a lightsaber. It looks like a normal sword, like a katana almost.
Yeah, that's the actual dark sword.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool as hell. All right. Yeah, I would hang one of those on my wall.
Oh heck yeah! This is gonna go on top of my TV. That's where it's gonna go.
Don't drop it; it'll cut your TV in half.
I think I might get the Ahsoka one for Rocio. So it could be a really nice combination, the Ahsoka and the Mandalorian's lightsaber.
Well, yes and no.
You know you want it for you. It's not for her.
Well, she loves Ahsoka. She loves Ahsoka. You have no idea. Since the Rebels, like Clone Wars, I even got her a Funko Pop of Ahsoka that she has in her dresser. So, yeah,
she's hanging out for the August release of the series.
Oh yes, that's gonna be.
Oh yes.
Oh yes.
Oh yes.
So, time for our first segment.
Time for our first segment.
You guys have segments?
We do.
Science Fiction Remnant.
This is the Funny Science Fiction Podcast.
We are the Caribbean Science Fiction Network.
We are Monorats.
We are One Accord Level 2 Podcast.
This is Jesse from Sudden But Inevitable and Open Pike Night.
This is SciFi.
Segments are really useful because it's hard to eat a whole cake at once.
And welcome to our segment. This is a sci-fi. This is a segment where we highlight our hashtag, and should I say our hashtag, meaning you guys too. So if you have a sci-fi IP,
You're
it's
so possessive,
something that
Robert.
you love so much and you want to share, please share it. Share your comments, share your pictures, share everything you love about that IP on the hashtag. And if you are a sci-fi lover, you want to follow that hashtag. If you're a creator, post your creation, your sci-fi creation on the This Is Sci-Fi hashtag. And the great thing about this is discovery. So we all learn about each other's love for sci-fi. And since we are sci-fi nuts, we're going to consume it. So one of the great things about it is, like I said in every episode, is the fact that I see a lot of discovery. I see people that have encountered an IP because someone has mentioned something on the hashtag This Is Sci-Fi, and something that either they hated all their lives, like in the case of I've seen people where they haven't seen Star Trek and they love Star Wars, or they haven't seen Star Wars and they've seen Star Trek, and they give it a chance for something as mainstream as something like that. And I know how some people, because of the points of view of the person who loves that IP, they're willing to give it a chance and have found something new that they love, as well as other stuff. Like, I've seen it, like, for example, you guys can post a lot about, Babylon 5. What is the hashtag?
Hashtag make Robert watch Babylon 5.
Hashtag.
Or you could, any IP, Galactica, 1978, and talk about what you love the most. And we can have a conversation. Another great thing about that hashtag that I encounter is the fact that I really enjoying the conversation, the engagement on the hashtag, because I love sci-fi. I love everything sci-fi, and the conversation is amazing. So if you love sci-fi as much as we do, that's the reason why I created the hashtag. Have you guys had anything that you want to point out that you have encountered this week for the This Is Sci-Fi hashtag? I'm not sure. I just always post a question out there. Conversation is never ending.
I got something, but I got to find it. Give me a sec.
That's quite all right.
I was busy sneezing. So.
And
Achoo!
Yes, much like that.
The hashtag This Is Sci-Fi is not the only way that you can actually engage with us. One way that you can engage with us is you can call our hotline. The number is 1-305-563-6334, and you can leave a voicemail for our show. You can leave a voicemail about a show that you have heard in the past, an episode you'd like us to make, a comment for any of the hosts, hate mail for Captain Chaos. Anything. And basically what's going to happen is we will play your message on future episodes. So remember, you can call 1-305-563-6334. And you are showing us something, Zombie Ray.
Let's just say that the meme lords are very busy. It's a photograph of the crew the crew of the Artemis 2, who are going to the moon. was released during the week, and 4 seconds later, they were put in front of a Stargate and had their glasses and various hats and things put on them to make them look like the crew from Stargate. So the internet always has fun with these things.
Nice. It is a really exciting time. So this is kind of stuff you find at hashtag. So yeah. Another way that you can engage with us is our Discord channel. For all of you out there who are actually watching our YouTube channel, you can just scan the QR code, and that's our invite into the channel. For all of you out there listening to the podcast, you can just go into our description. Show description shows all our links. You can find a Discord invite link in there. And we can have the same type of conversation. And there are channels for every IP. Do you guys agree with that, Captain Chaos and Ray?
Oh, not quite everyone, but all the major ones we've covered so far.
So if you want to talk about yours and yours is not there, not an issue. Just let us know. We'll make the channel.
And the best part about this is sci-fi hashtag is that we can also get to have disagreements and fights about why you think that science when I think is fantasy.
These agreements are great engagement for conversation, as long as it's done in a polite way. And that's what we all do in this. I mean, if you ever listen to this show since season 1, when it was just me and Captain Chaos, you have the perfect example. We don't always agree. Gio, you say that we agree on things maybe like 80% of the times, but that's what makes it a great conversation. It's all done in a respectful manner. So that's pretty much what we like to see. Everybody has its own opinions, and I do respect that 100%. So that actually, what I like about that is the fact that you can learn from a different perspective by having those conversations. So yes, join us on Discord. Description is in the link is in the description of the show, and if you're watching the YouTube, you can just scan the QR code. Okay, so do we have another segment? I wonder whose segment it is. I wonder.
I gotta get
Shout out. Shout out.
I hope
huge delay on this connection.
Let me explain a couple of things here for all of you out there who are actually listening to this episode for the first time and have not heard our previous episodes. I like to play with Captain Chaos. I like to get him off guard. So usually what I do is I just shoot out his segment out and hope that he reacts. However, he has a huge delay because of his connection to the internet. I think it might be just his computer, not necessarily the connection to the internet. So you'll notice that whenever we refer to him during the regular show, it takes a couple of seconds for him to respond. It's because that's a huge delay when he hears us to the time that he gets to respond. So I just find it funny.
It takes a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
We're still waiting for him to reply from the last segment.
We're over.
Hey, Robert, did you see the ticker?
Yeah.
When you said you like to play with Captain Chaos?
Okay, so take it away, Captain Chaos.
He's that great friend that you're nervous to go to the stage and he just pulls you behind.
He's being supportive.
Yeah. I throw you into the lake so you can learn how to swim.
Yeah.
Into the lake.
I remember that.
There's the delay.
An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth.
I like my teeth.
Okay.
We're still waiting for a shout out.
Are we getting shout-outs?
Okay.
Are we not getting
No,
shout-outs?
I'm just waiting to have such a big delay that I start talking and then your feedback comes in and I realize that I'm that's how bad it's on this side.
Go!
So first and foremost, remind everybody, even my English went back there, that we are members of the Blind Knowledge Network. Them out. They have a great variety of content creators, all sorts of taste. So I definitely suggest all of our listeners to go check them out. Let's say the CEO, what's cool? Podcast. What's not cool? Not podcast. So go and check them out. You can find them in all social medias, Instagram, Twitter. You can go to the website, Blind Knowledge, and then I hope that you find something that I'm sure that you will. Now, moving to our shout outs. They're gonna mention is Comidas Duras. Cool mongrel dog is his Twitter tag. Go and check it out. Thank you for engagement with conversations. We actually have a shout out for, which is and Open Pike is at Open Pike is their tag too. Great podcast. Having conversations with them on the Twitters. Go and check them out too. Also here, it's got Star Trek podcast. Great podcast too. Go and check them out. We are always having conversations with them about Star Trek. Well, mostly Robert, right? I'm not that Trekky yet. Robert is dying.
Actually, Mrs. Robert.
Yet.
Also, David. Yeah.
Not yet, but soon.
Also, not yet. There's a first time for everything. Ooh. Hey. David Joseph Moody. And his Twitter tag. That's what. David Joseph Moody. Twitter tag is Astral Argonaut. Go and check him out. Lucy Morningstar. And her tweet is Lucy79. Abby Sommer. Her tag is Abby with double B. M Sommer with double. And his tag is Mark Weston 85. EnnJayDee tag is Get Gutter. That goes GETGUDDER, by the way. And last but not least, Daniel, and his tag is D Strick 2010. D Strick 2010. And this one was not written down, but I meant to mention her and see where are you, dear Nikki. So big shout out for her, big supporter of us from all times. Go and check her out. You can find her on Twitter, In Bed with Nikki. Fabulous person. The time with her. It is a plus 18 non-stand for work. So I advise everybody, if you're gonna listen to her, and careful if you're doing it at work. Might be weird. And that's
Or if you're balls, you just listen to her, no headphones.
You just listen to it with no headphones?
Just be balls, you listen to her with no headphones. See what happens. You want an early retirement.
So you're saying listen to her raw, right?
Yes, listen
Hey,
to her do the
Miguel.
Katy Perry.
Hey, Miguel, go to downtown Miami and put it on speakers as you walk around.
All right. Jesus Christ. You imagine?
I'm down.
Put peanut butter
on my nipples.
I'm down.
That's as far as I'm going. I'm not going to go any deeper. She gets way worse. But yeah.
Get one of those oldie schooly vans with the big amplifiers on the top, like they have when they're trying to get elected, and just play it out of that.
But you know what? I feel like I need to give everybody context as to why I love that podcast, right? She is doing something that I really believe in, and that's the reason why I like the podcast is she's giving the voice to the people. She is allowing you to see. There's a lot of stigma. I mean, do you guys agree? There's a lot of stigma when it comes to talking about sex, right?
Oh, for sure.
And she actually
Yeah, nobody wants to talk about sex, but here we are, all due to that.
Exactly. So, how the podcast works is you send in your story. It could be something that happened to you years ago or something that happened to you whenever, and she would actually read it on the show without saying who it is and changing whatever names and locations, and just giving you a voice to your experience. It could be anything. Of course, there's restrictions, so you'll hear that in every episode. At the beginning, she mentions what she will not play. But I really like that whenever there's a taboo subject, and that doesn't necessarily have to be about sex. There's a lot of subjects that are taboo. And I really love when someone gives it a voice and helps, because the only fix that you have to a stigma about a subject is to talk about that subject. And that's the main reason why I love In Bed with Nikky. Just had to mention out there that it is a sex podcast. So you want to listen in headphones and you want to be an adult. You don't want to have anyone underage listening to the podcast. But I don't know if you guys heard that before. I have actually talked about that previously. Actually, I think I had a long explanation on our Barbarella episode. If you guys have not listened to that episode, I suggest you go back, and it was a great episode to record with Nikky. And I actually explained in that episode pretty much what I just said now. So if you're an adult, if you're over 18, I recommend you listen to the podcast and enjoy it like we do. So we are 3 roll-ups here.
Oh hell no!
Oh, wow, nice. So we are not 3 robots here, but we are 4. Are we ready?
Well, you're the only real robot. You know what I've been trying to practice all day. Now that you mentioned robots, I've been trying to practice the voice of God damn it, what's it? The Autobots, the leader of the Autobots, Megatron, the other one, Optimus Prime. Yeah, I've been trying to practice his voice with his voice. I'm like, bro, this is impossible. My voice is not that deep. I go like, I am Optimus Prime. I sound like I'm stupid. That's a little too low, but yeah, but that's better. You at least have that rasp, you know.
I'm Optimus Prime.
That's a lot better. I need 20 more years. 20 more years, I can do
it. You need a bottle of bourbon and a pack of cigarettes a day, and then you'll be right.
Oh, that'll work. That'll definitely work.
I think Cohiba's might make it faster.
You know, I do like cigars. I gotta go pick one up. That is true. That might work.
So
is it time for the plat? Do you want to do the plat maybe? Plat.
Maybe. Hey, Gio, should we do the plot? Should we?
Nice.
Plat. All right. So we today are talking about Love, Death, and Robots, season 1.
You should give us a plot like a mad scientist.
Is that a thing?
The plot.
Okay, the original release date of season 1 of Love, Death, and Robots was March 15th, 2019. And if you go to watch it on Netflix now, it will try and make you watch season 3 because that's the one that's most recently dropped. And convincing it to actually let you watch season 1 can be quite energetic. It's like, I want to watch season 1. No, you want to watch season 3? No, I want to watch season 1. Fuck off, robot. So it happens a lot. But eventually you can manage to do it. Okay, so this is a whole 12 minutes long. We've done silent movies for 15 minutes. We're now down to 12 minutes. So, thank you, Gio. We'll see how much we can talk about a 12-minute show. It should be interesting. But the plot goes thus. Long after the fall of humanity, 3 robots, KVRC Xbot 4000 and 11-45-G, wander through a post-apocalyptic city trying to understand how humans lived based on their limited knowledge of them and the things they left behind. They learn the concept of human sports, consumption, and eventually pets when they encounter a living cat, which proceeds to follow them. The three robots learn about their origins and later arrive at what appears to be a nuclear missile base. 11-45-G explains that humans died out from environmental disasters caused by their own actions. KVRC states that at one point, humans genetically engineered their cats, giving them intelligence. The cat then proves this by showing it can speak, demanding to be petted, while many other cats in the base come to corner the three robots. Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun, dun. And that's the plot.
And the last comment is from 11-45-G, who says, we might have to extend our vacation.
This 15-minute, I want to say 15-minute, what was it exactly? 12 minutes? 'Cause, I like to read the end credits.
That's 3 times over.
The end credits are probably longer than the movie itself. Like,
just about. But Netflix always cuts it off, so you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
true.
I usually skip the skip.
You skip the skip, right?
I skip the skip. This has a surprising a lot of meat for 12 minutes. And this episode was recommended by our very own.
That's good storytelling, though.
Captain Chaos.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it is. He's been on the roll right now, Ray. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have to step up.
Like, you guys should listen to me more.
I don't know if my sanity can handle it.
Don't worry,
So,
man. I will suggest things that will destroy your soft. No more edge runners for you.
Oh dear.
Don't take Angela's job away from him. He's supposed to be the one destroying my heart.
He'll do it too.
He's been I don't know, Miguel, if you're not familiar with it, the what's going on. Angela's is a dear friend of ours listening to the podcast. He has come on our show with recommendations that we actually have episodes on with him. And so far, every recommendation that he has for us that we had done in episodes during watching and during recording the episode, my heart rate has gone over 120 bits per minute. So
thank you, Angelus, for giving Rob a heart attack.
So great.
Shout out to you.
Great shows, great movies, but boy,
it's one of those like.
Yes. Well, the thing is, I am Admiral Happy Ending, so most of this stuff has no happy ending. So yeah, there goes that.
Listen, that's how I felt when I was watching Event Horizon. Okay, I was like, Jesus Christ, when is this gonna end? I went to sleep that night, and I was on my bed, and I was like, oh my God, this damn thing's coming after me. I swear to God.
You guys, those microbes are in the air.
I don't mind like horror movies, but as long as they have a happy, okay, everybody's dead, fine, awesome. I'll live with that. But if it's one of those like continuous ones where you don't know, it's like, is it in my bathroom mirror? Where is it?
But it had a happy ending. We had 2 survivors. Yeah.
Are you sure they survived?
With PTSD.
For all we know, it's probably sleeping, dreaming. So, going back to this show, I would have to, I'm going to ask my first question, right?
Is it first thoughts?
It is the first thoughts. So, typically, if you have listened long enough to the show, you know that the first question is usually, Your first thoughts when you watch the show or movie, or in this case, in this short, how old were you, and what was your first impression? Because I usually like to do a compare and see how your first impressions vary from your last impressions. So I guess I can go first. This is not an old show by any means.
March 15th, 2019 was the release date.
Yeah, 2019. So, it's not like some of the episodes that we have done in the past where I was like 7 years old. No, I was, it was 2019. I watched it when it first came out. It's not one of those shows that I have kept up. Not sure if it is because of their format. So if you're familiar with Love, Death, and Robots, it's a really cool idea. It reminds me of the Animatrix, I believe, where they have multiple stories in different formats for every episode, and it is designed for today's day because the episodes are typically around 10 to 12 minutes long. So I think I don't know if I can attribute that to the fact that I haven't kept up. I have watched many of the episodes for that show across various seasons. The show has 3 seasons so far. But that is also the great thing about the show is the fact that you don't have to follow in order because they technically don't follow each other. And there are its own contained movie. I'm going to echo what Captain Chaos said earlier. The stories on this show, it's really good storytelling because I find it amazing that you could actually contain a whole story in 10 to 12 minutes. I mean, I'm familiar with episodes that are, 20 minutes. I see that a lot in anime, for example. But we're talking about an entire season that doesn't even account for the full story. So when I see something that it would be equivalent to an anime episode that contains an entire story, that impresses me. So that's one of the things that I would have to say about the show as a whole. That also speaks about the episode that we're going to talk about. The episode we're talking about, the 3 robots. It really impressed me. It's very consistent to how this show was done. It impressed me that this was technically a very dark view into our future. And it has such a poignant message throughout, that's not quite apparent when you start watching. But I would say maybe halfway through, all the way to the end, you realize what was going on. And it's something that I have always spoke in various episodes on Science Fiction Remnant about global warming and how we as a species are actually being a virus to the planet. So my first impression, I know this might be a long one, but it's very surprising to me that it has all that information within 12 minutes. And that I found that amazing. So who's going to go next?
I can go next.
I kind of agree. You can go ahead. Yes, go.
Okay. I saw this back in 2019. As an overview of the entire series of the show, it's like watching a omnibus of short stories. So obviously, short stories. The length of a short story is about the amount of information that you would have for. Like, they might expand it slightly, but that's like a movie's worth of information is a short story. These are probably more like micro stories. They're even shorter than what would be considered a short story, so they are quite small. I found that this particular one was jam packed with snappy dialogue and comedy, and it's all about the juxtaposition of how future intelligent well, I don't know, you call them a species, but how future intelligence would try to look at and understand how we lived after we're gone. And the humor is in the lack of context. So they're trying to discuss how these things worked, and in having a viewpoint that is completely outside humanity, and they say, oh, this is kind of weird, you sort of look at humanity and we look at ourselves and we go, well, yeah, there's some things that we do that completely normalized because we're humans and this is what humans do, but it does seem kind of weird when you look at it from another perspective. So yeah, I thought it was really interesting. And of course the joke about cats, I love cats, so that was always good.
Awesome. I guess, Miguel, you are the newest one here because
I am.
He was today years old.
He saw it today.
Today years old when I have joined a podcast about sci-fi. Yes.
So-
I was gonna say the same thing you were gonna say, Robert. It's kind of amazing how they packed in. I watched it once and I can't retain all of it because there was so much going on in those 12 minutes that it's like just like scene after scene after scene, and there's so many little details you need to catch, right? Like normally when you have time to watch a movie that's about an hour long, you have all this B-roll and you could see scenes or you could catch certain things going on in the background. With this is just like one after the other, not in a hectic way, but it's amazing how they were able to fit to in 12 minutes. You pretty much have it almost feels like you watch a 30-minute episode from a normal TV series. I think it's one of those TV series made for the TLDR generation. Too long, didn't read.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like it's short, concise. This is what you want, and that's it.
Behold, the entertainment sphere. It's a ball.
Awesome.
I like the dark humor, the like the offbeat kind of humor.
Yeah.
Oh, he ran away. Oh, there he is.
I was going to say, Captain Chaos, you have your first thoughts, and then he went away.
First, a thoughtless bastard.
Thoughts like the one in your head.
I have a monkey with 2 plates. What can I tell you? I think this movie is a masterful mix of a preventive history of where mankind is leading itself to. I think that being concise as short on first thought of what this movie encases, exactly that. It shows us like what's gonna happen for you guys to watch the other parts. Actually, gonna go and run and watch tonight the third part because I didn't know there was a third season already. But the second episode is hilarious, man.
Gotta watch it.
Awesome.
I found what episode did we watch? Episode 1?
Yeah, the first one.
What is this teabag thing? I'm going to look it up right now. No, don't go look it
Don't
up.
look
Don't
it
go
up.
look it up. Oh my God. You made me look this thing
I
up.
need
It's
to look
burned
that
into
up.
my circuits. You bastards. I'm going to cat bag you.
When your processing power is too powerful.
I have
That
to
was an
echo.
Elon Musk chip.
I have to echo what Gio has said about this this episode, this short. I like to call them shorts. That's exactly when you call this when you said that, Gio, it echoes what I say in many episodes when I say the science fiction is a thought
Look at that tea
experiment.
bag. That's a tea bag.
Oh my god.
Oh
I'm not
yes.
fucking kidding you.
Earl
gonna get one of
Grey.
those.
Hope. I hope it's not chamomile.
Is it green tea or?
You know, chamomile.
Does it say what it is? It's not chamomile. So what
No,
I
it
was
just
going to
says
say
it just
is,
says tea baggy.
yeah. Oh well. What I was going to say is science fiction is a thought experiment. And this is how we can explore topics and subjects. I mean, I have talked about this in many episodes. I think this is one of the reasons that I love sci-fi and how much I love sci-fi. Not sure if you guys are familiar. We started writing articles for our website. So if you go to sciencefictionremnant.com and you click on the blog link, I actually wrote an article called "The Impact of Science Fiction as a Thought Experiment on Humanity," where I actually had time to explain more of why I think of science fiction as a thought experiment. But yeah, I mean, I had a conversation like this with my brother the other day, and we had, for example, if you go back in our back catalog and go to the episode on Gattaca, the movie Gattaca, that we have done in season 1, we talked in length between me and Gio about that. But Gattaca is a perfect example of what science fiction can do for humanity. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but Gattaca, it explores, in short, and I'm not going to talk much about it, but in short, it talks about a future where humans have found a way to alter their DNA before they were born to create the perfect human. So there's a disparity between humans that are born the natural way and humans that are born, which in that future would be the normal way, which is being altered by DNA. So the people that are born normally are being they don't get the jobs. They usually end up working as janitors. They can't get, even if they
They're
have
called invalid individuals.
invalid individuals. So I just want to give you a little. I'm talking a
When
little bit of
designer
the movie.
babies rule the world.
Exactly. So just to give you a little context, but I encourage you download that episode and listen to that episode for more context. But the reason why I got to bring it up is because that movie was a perfect example as to why science fiction is such a thought experiment. Because of that movie, the we as a species explored a topic, and we're able to see where humanity could go under that route. And because of that, I mean, NASA actually was coined insane that this movie was one of the most accurate sci-fi movies ever. And because of that movie, the United States actually created the Generic Information Non-Discriminatory Act that passed in 2008. And the United Kingdom created the Human Fertilization and Embryology Act that also passed in 2008. So we had a science fiction IP help us visualize what could happen in the future in a way that lawmakers could act and prevent it. And that's why I said that science fiction is a thought experiment. And I think the reason why I love science fiction is because it allows us to kind of put topics or issues or technologies or anything you want in this sandbox and play around with it and see where is this thing going to take humanity. And we can see if there's something we could do to prevent any negative things that can come from it,
I can make
Or-
one suggestion. Don't give cats opposable thumbs.
and we also see the opposite. We also see what science fiction is able to influence humanity in a way that, one example, Star Trek and the warp drive is a thing that NASA and scientists are experimenting, where the Alcubierre drive. So we talked about in our episode of the 2000 Space Odyssey about the iPads. This movie, what was it, 1968? But it was already displaying video calls and iPads. So in Star Trek is very known, in addition now for the warp drive, but prior to the warp drive, for the flip phones. So it's a great thing. And this episode, this short 12-minute short on the 3 robots that we're talking about today, it talks about another thing in a way that we could see far into the future what happens with humans and the issue that is going on right now. It helps us see something far into the future of the global warming. I don't know if you guys agree, but I found it very, very interesting when they were actually looking at the nuclear warhead and they're explaining to each other, this was back in time where humans were trying to figure out the best way to kill the most amount of humans in the fastest amount of time. And they found the irony that it is that they, in this particular universe, in this particular story, the warheads were not needed, because what actually did the job was the ignorance of the people when it comes to global warming. So I found that very, very interesting. And in this 12-minute, they had such a huge message. What do you guys agree? Do you guys agree? What do you guys think about that?
Well, as I've mentioned previously, we are actually, or we have been, in a unprecedented period of climate stability. And that's been one of the major factors of humanity being able to evolve quickly enough with our intelligence to create civilization and technology and things like that. If the environment hadn't been so friendly, like if we'd had, ice ages and various other things that have happened in the past more regularly, then it may well have been that we wouldn't have got as far as we have. So, there's been a whole lot of things within the whole period of the existence of the solar system which have gone just right so that we could be here now. Theia crashing into Earth and stripping off the early environment so we didn't end up like Venus, and then developing a new atmosphere so that carbon-based life forms could develop. The fact that we didn't end up with a couple of hot Jupiters and all the other planets having been smashed as the gas giants made their way in, because Jupiter was on its way in and then Saturn pulled it back out again. So we didn't end up like a lot of other star systems with just a couple of big gas giants near the star and that's all you've got. We actually have some rocky planets in the Goldilocks zone, which is somewhat unusual. It's not completely unheard of, but it is quite unusual. So there's a whole lot of factors that worked in like one after the other that made it so that we could be here today. And one of those was quite a stable climate for about 15,000 years, the last 15,000 years.
We have one sun. That's very unusual for the galaxy.
It is.
One sun.
That's true.
Yeah, the most common is dual suns.
Binaries.
Binaries.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that happened that were convenient for life, and then we've had this nice stable environment, well, you might think it's stable, but it is quite stable compared to how it has been. Humanity before it was humanity, like the early human species, almost got completely wiped out. At one point, there was this bottleneck in Africa before tribes left Africa, where we were down to several hundred individuals, and that's it. So we almost got completely wiped at one stage, which is why we now have like mitochondrial Eve concept, where everybody can be traced back to the mitochondrial DNA of a single individual or a number of small number of individuals in Africa about 15,000 years ago. But yeah, I mean, it's been amazing that we've had a stable environment for so long, except now we're completely fucking it up, and things aren't as stable as they used to be. Now, the thing that people get confused about with global warming is that it's not the globe the overall average temperatures are going up slightly, but the thing that causes is what's called climate change or climate instability, where you get a lot more storms, you get a lot more seriously hazardous weather events, big storms, floods, droughts, all these sorts of things that will destabilize the environment. And once our environment gets destabilized, we're in all sorts of trouble, because we rely on it heavily for our food and for places where we can live safely. And it's pretty obvious that the rise of even down in Florida way, the rise of more and harsher hurricanes over the past 20 odd years. It's a sign that the environment is starting to turn against us because of what we've been doing.
Yeah.
You need to watch about this series so you can see where it's going. Because he talks about it.
But it's 3 minutes longer. Do you think I can concentrate that long?
You know,
yeah. I mean, through a 5 hours movie.
Yeah, I know.
So I would have to add.
I'm gonna take out Robert's permits to suggest episodes.
Hey, but you know, the Metropolis is an icon of sci-fi. It's a long movie that had to
I'm
be
a
watched.
title for being a filmmaking director or something by watching that.
You learned a lot. You learned a lot.
Like homework to filmmaking.
So by the way, if you're not subscribed to our newsletter, you might want to subscribe to. I am writing an article on Metropolis, so that's coming up soon. So hopefully by the time that this episode releases is probably out. But the reason why I'm mentioning it is the fact that I'm going to continue to write articles. So if you subscribe to the newsletter, would be one easy way for you to keep in touch of what articles are going to come out from sciencefictionremnant.com. But I would have to add to what our resident mite scientist, Ray, said about. Many people, and I don't know, this misconception, I still find it, where the title of global warming seemed to be confusing for some people.
Yeah,
and they said, okay, how could it? You must be lying. This must be fake because we had a really bad winter. No. What you said, and the reason why I said I had to add to what Ray just mentioned is the fact that with that instability, that's basically what it means. The weather becomes unstable. So you could have real hot summers that break records, and you can have really cold winters that break records. So the term global warming might be confusing to you, but just know that it's basically global instability, and with extremes is with the dangers come. So basically, on this short, we see the end result of that instability.
We see an end result.
An end result, yeah.
That's
So
not the only one.
we
This is when get a toxic girlfriend because he will behave like the planet Earth in global warming. Extreme.
So I just had to mention because that those extremes, the and there's another argument that I find where it says, that always has happened on Earth. Yeah. The thing is, Earth will continue. This will continue to go up and down, up and down. It can go all the way to critical levels, kill all humans like it happened in this short, and continue. Like I said, Earth doesn't care. It will continue to be Earth long before we're gone. And this is kind of like a sneak preview of that alternative ending that we get to see on this episode. What do you guys think? I'm sorry.
A counter argument. You ready for it?
Go ahead.
You're the one that's lagging. Just say it.
So global warming is happening. Yeah, I know. I just don't want to talk over people. I'm traumatized already. You know how awkward it is for me to find myself talking and then I see that conversation is going on without me? It's weird, man.
He's looking at the camera. He's like,
global warming is happening. Gray's like, let me get the heck out of here before he says. So basically, global warming is happening, affecting it. But global warming to me, based on the research I've done too, is it has gone to before. We're affecting the rating, and that might just tarnish our way of living, but it's not gonna scar the earth. It's gonna get to the after that. Probably it's gonna be probably a global extermination where human race is gonna be reduced to very little, if not nothing, because the conditions are gonna be harsh. But it's a cycle, so Earth's gonna come back to what it was and more green, probably. Just like those cities, like Chernobyl. You see Chernobyl today, and it's beautiful, frondus, fruit, full of animals, beautiful trees, because humans are not there anymore.
I do agree
I mean,
with
I
you.
think that at the end of the day, it's a cycle more than anything else. Like it's been discovered in space at the North Pole and South Pole on the ice capes. Basically, they study basically the all the things that have been excavating hundreds of meters to look thousands of years back, and it's been discovered that it's just a cycle. It comes and goes. It comes and goes, and we're just affecting it. That it's making it faster with other elements like pollution that we're adding, but that's not gonna stop from basically cleaning. Is an organism. What happens to Ray's body now that he has full of flu? Now his body's fighting it off. So imagine that human flu and that is Gaia. Basically, Father Gaia gonna fight that flu and eliminate it eventually. It's just part of the cycle. He's gonna get another one, and that's what I call an update to the system too. Like we cannot live like pretending like, oh, I cannot get the flu. No, you have to get it, and that's you just gotta be in good health condition. So when you get it, it doesn't kill you. You update your system and you keep on going, and that's what this Earth is gonna do too. It's getting humans weirder and weirder virus, newer ways, and the Earth is gonna just prepare for it, fight it off, and get rid of other if we don't cooperate with it. But that cycle is not gonna start happening because of that, neither.
I would have to thank you for that comment because that is exactly, I agree with that statement, and 100%. It is a cycle, and you know, I hear a lot of comments from people saying, you know, Earth is like that. That's normal. That's what Earth does. Yeah, I agree. It's a cycle. It will go back to normal. However, you would have to know that the things that you do will affect you in a way that you could possibly not live anymore. It's basically like you shooting
Yeah.
your own foot, right? And then Earth is going to go back to
Yeah.
normal with no humans.
Hmm.
So
Basically, if you want to put it
Earth
in simpler
wins.
terms, too,
Fatality.
at the end, finish him. Basically,
I
if
love
if
it.
you want to put it in simpler terms, too, basically, uh, what's going to happen is that we are supporting a economy that is not helping us move towards the future that is going to prepare us for what's to come. You know, and as long as we don't work with a vision towards it, because I mean, the Earth could go completely frozen. We're putting our interest in our science to work towards preparing ourselves for it. Could go frozen completely and go off the orbit of the sun, and still is going to have a nucleus. And if we're able to sustain ourselves without sun, we could be living under the ice caps of the oceans, under the water. You know, with the proper technology, we could. This is like a huge spaceship floating on freaking nothingness. You know,
Yeah.
like just look.
Many people don't
There's
realize that.
in Jupiter, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, no, they in Jupiter that they haven't released. To me, there's information about them. You know, there's just that governments and agencies usually have information that they will hold from the public for X or Y. There are moons in Jupiter, I think, are orbs with a thick ice cape on top. God knows what lives underneath that. It's water. It's water. So that's to sustain life one way or another. Sun. But if that's so far from the sun and still can have a thick cape of ice, it tells you that we have a long way to go before we really go extinct if we prepare ourselves for it properly. The way that the economy moves and the way that we live as a community, worldwide speakingly, we're not working towards being prepared for living life to me that basically we create needs so we can supply the benefit of big companies, etc. Not for taking care of the planet, not for way that we are acting nowadays. For example, we are not taking and replacing. We just take and take and take. You know, and when we do that, lead to that way of living, that consumerism, with mindlessly. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%. I don't think that the efforts to help climate change have actually been taken. I'm a bit more on the other side. I don't really think that it's true. I think that if we do affect it, it's a very very small percentage. Um, I think naturally the Earth itself makes its own gases that are worse than what we could ever put into it. But I don't think getting rid of one thing is getting rid of gasoline cars. I don't think that's really like a solution for it because electric cars aren't any better. You know,
Lithium
one of
batteries are
those
not great.
windmills that produce electricity takes 200 one of those windmills that produce electricity takes 250 gallons of oil to run, and you have to change those every couple months. So if you have
But
a field of those,
let me give you a counter. Just food for thoughts. I do own an electric car
mm,
and have solar panels.
mm.
So the way that I have it set up is I charge it during the day using my solar panels, and the car is always full.
Well, yeah, you can use solar power, but I don't think it's efficient enough to run everything with it.
That's
Would you be able to run your whole house with solar
oh,
power?
here's
I'm
the elephant on the room. The elephant on the room, Robert, is the damage that those leaders and the solar partners were taking are harmful. It's just as harmful. It's not a solution. You know, it's a new
Mhm.
economy to be supported, but it's not guys as a solution to be eco. But lithium batteries cannot be recycled, and they are costly, and they are also a finite resource.
we
The
need
material
quantum
what panels are
technology.
made of too, they are not really biodegradable. Eh? We need that. We need that.
They tried a few years ago running.
Saying how many episodes?
Quantum power.
Running what?
They tried a few years ago running
we're
a
in the
car on
cradle of
solar
it.
power. It only went like 20 miles, 30 miles an hour. So they're still messing with it. But if they are able to make that, that would be a lot better. Because anything else where you plug in to drain power out of anything else,
You know
is
what's-
just, it's gonna equally a suck, if not worse. Like California has a horrible power grid issue where they can't even. They have to recharge their cars on certain days because they can't sustain the electricity to the grid. So it's if they could make something out of nothing like solar power, awesome, I'm all for it. But I don't think the foundation has still been there. I think that the better foundation would have been to go with natural gas, just like the waste management trucks, where you have your infrastructure is already the gas stations. You don't need to add anything to it. Just a tank.
Nah, bro. I want to have a car that has a toilet on the side, so I take a poop and it becomes fuel.
Just run on methane gas. Just there it goes.
I want to
put a hose from your ass straight into the tank.
Laugh. I actually see documentaries in India. They have big farms with cows, and they actually have big piles, like
methane.
All the manure of the cow, and they get methane gas, get fuel, bro, and they actually get machinery running on it. It's amazing. But I mean, on top of that, I think that what's gonna resolve it too. I think that is just technology. I think that Nikola Tesla came out with this. And I mean, you know that Thomas Edison is no hero. He's actually just Rockefeller's pet for thievery. He got Tesla to die like a crazy dude feeding pigeons, talking about himself in a park in New York. But Nikola Tesla came out with microwave energy. You can literally run a vehicle without having battery source or fuel source propelling system, just with a microwave. But that technology is the doom of the economy based on fuel. Cars, of course, it's just like what happens to the hydrogen car. That was invented more than 50, 60 years ago. But that guy,
if people were just making sense and going
for an economy.
Yeah, definitely. If people were just making sense and going, okay, well, we're screwing the environment. All the data is in, and it says we are. We need to change from fossil fuels to something else. Let's develop the technology and put it in place, and then we're golden. Then that would be fine. But that's not the only driving factor in this equation. There's all the driving factors of the multi-billion-dollar conglomerates that own all the rights for the oil and the coal and the gas, and they don't want to stop making money. In fact, they buy up inventions that could be a threat to their monopoly over providing energy and hide them away. And that way they keep their monopoly and they keep control and they make their money. They make their billions of dollars a year. And they want that to keep going because it's making them money and they don't want to stop making money. And this is the big problem. It's not that we can't do it. It's that we won't do it because the people who have all the money and can, back all the senators and get them to keep them using fossil fuels, are, keeping the status quo to keep making their money. And, what's the good of having fistfuls of money when the world's destroyed and we haven't got anywhere to live? But they don't get that.
Yeah.
So
no, it's short term. It's reality. It's like the way they think when you get into their mind. It's like, I'm not gonna be here by then. Not gonna be my problem.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
That's a problem. Think about it.
Why is the U.S.
You and Robert have family, and you come up with these technology that is scenario. Bring forward risk that something could happen to you, your family. You will keep it. You will stay quiet because the threat is so big and it's been seen. So something like that happens. So I mean, people to really take that risk because it's the safety of those that you love against making a stand against a whole system. It's a dangerous thing.
But
we see it so much that I'm surprised whenever people ask it, Rob.
No, go ahead. Continue. I'll ask after your your
Oh,
statement.
we've seen it happen so many times, and I'm still to this day baffled by how when people see something like that happen, they don't even question it. Like there was a guy a few years ago, I think it was a few years ago. I mean, like the beginnings of YouTube. He actually designed a car to run. Sorry, it was a motorcycle to run on salt water. Salt water. You could just get salt water from the beach, throw it in the tank, and it would run on it. After a few months, no more posts. That's it.
They either bought him
Nobody ever
out
knows what happened.
or
He had a whole mech. He has a whole video explaining how it works. Everything after that, gone. Oh, excuse me, guys. There you go. Hung this up.
Have you ever wondered why America is a car-based society?
A car-based society.
Yeah. Do you know why that is? You know why so many other countries in the world have really good public transport systems, but they were all pulled out in the US in the 50s?
Why?
Because the fossil fuel companies wanted more people to drive cars so they'd make more money. So they backed all the state governors and state representatives to push to remove the they were aging public transport systems, like not cable cars, trams and things like that. But they had them all pulled out.
Yeah, they bought all the train companies too.
Yep, they bought all that stuff up and got rid of it, so that people would have to buy cars and would have to buy fuel and use it to get around.
See, that's what the big banks do.
Yep.
Don't trust banks.
This was the fossil fuel companies. They had all the money and they used their money to force everybody to buy cars.
Okay.
There's a lot of things in America that are like that too, especially when it comes to entertainment. Like music, like movies, Hollywood, stuff like that, and a little bit about this on our podcast. But yeah, there's a lot of things when you start looking, you're like, holy shit! Like there's so many connections that you can make left and right that you just kind of like it's like a scatter of just a network of things that go on,
Mm. Yeah, basically the people who have the status quo and don't want it to change will do everything they can to stop it changing, to the point of actually removing your options.
Yeah. But the most important question that we have to ask ourselves is, how about them robots?
Mm.
By the way, I'm going to bring up a word that we
There's
talked
something
about in the
interesting.
last podcast. It's called, remember we were talking about when a company makes something that is designed to fail? Like you buy a new car or something, and then your warranty is, let's say it's 100,000 miles. It fails right at 100,000 miles or after 100,000 miles, right? Or I saw this documentary where they were making a light bulb to work only 1,000 hours because the light bulbs were lasting too long. There's a light bulb in the U.S. that's been lit since 1891.
Yep.
Right? Or some of that, right, Rob? So it's called planned obsolescence.
Obsolescence.
Obsolescence. Yeah, that's kind of hard for me to pronounce.
Yeah.
Obsolescence.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's correct.
Yeah. Describes a strategy of deliberately ensuring that the current version of a given product will become out of date or useless within a known time period. Which I find very fascinating. But I wonder if those robots were built with planned obsolescence.
Possibly. What sits on your windowsill and hums for 91 days and then stops?
What sits on your windowsill?
An air conditioner with a 90-day warranty.
That is absolutely true.
That's funny because it's true.
Especially with the way that things are built today, yeah.
Oh yeah. One thing that I found really interesting about the robots.
Well, let me answer something that you asked, Robert, about robots. Actually, I found it absurd, but I saw people terrified of. Remember our friend Atlas from Soft Robotics, but from Boston Dynamics?
Oh, yeah.
People are terrified of that. This thing is created to get into places that are dangerous to walking to save other humans. Like, this is a great invention, and people are scared of it. That's the narrative to people. Like, that's amazing. Like, Imagine something like World Trade Center, and that where somebody could not walk in, you could send actually an independent robot that can walk through any obstacles, and it's not plugged, and it can carry heavy weight, and it can carry itself to rescue somebody from. It's amazing.
Yeah.
There's its good and bad. So the good thing is that you could have your robot that goes
Everything that is
inside and
created for
essentially
good can be
does.
weaponized for bad.
Well, that's what people are scared of, really. Especially after Elon Musk was talking about the AI thing, they're scared of it because it's not. Whenever you give somebody too much power, they always tend to fuck it up, right? Excuse me for cursing on the podcast. But
Yeah.
especially something like robots, you have to remember this: robots don't have any emotions. They're not like humans, right? If you give a robot a gun, a weapon, a knife, whatever the hell it is, it's gonna go out. You program it to do this one thing. It's going to do this one thing, and it's not going to care, right? What people are scared of is that it becomes kind of like the
Terminator.
movie I, Robot, where these things like something the mainframe, the AI takes
Yeah.
over, and then it takes everything out. They just recently did that in New York. The New York mayor Adams, I think his name is Adams. He actually got like 4 of these robots for the police force, and it cost like $750 million. $750,000.
Holy
And
shit.
a lot of people were like, Jesus Christ, like, why is this guy spending so much? It's not like they have, I mean, yes, they had 9/11, but they don't have like bombings and stuff in New York. They don't have like big things like kidnappings, major kidnappings or anything like that in New York. So what is the purpose of buying these robots? Why does the police force need this kind of military equipment is pretty much what I'm asking. Because essentially those robots were built by
It's a
military
testing ground for new
military.
technologies.
The
Here's
cities,
the thing: the way that human society and authorities work is they're gonna introduce things to society before the need is there. So when the needs present itself, they already know how to use these channels of resources. You feel me?
Mm.
So instead of a situation where they need to have these robots comes in and they don't know how to program it or use them or manipulate them, they rather put them to test as technology in, so they could use it for wrong, or they could be prepared to use it for the right reasons when the moment presents itself. That's the way I see it. And I mean, other
it's kind of like
countries are
when
using
the
it. This is
Tesla first
invented. This
came
is
out.
out for sale and for grabs.
Yeah, it's kind of like when
So
Teslas
thinking
came
of
out.
that,
The
like other
first
countries
cars
already
didn't
created and using it. Yeah.
they didn't track themselves, and they crash into things without the drivers knowing. So and then they started making it better and better, which it's
Yeah.
fine, but it's at the same time it's like, all right, well, at least it's Elon Musk. We know he's a little crazy, but he's not too crazy. He's insane, but not too insane. It's fine, but I don't really trust this robotic. One thing is a car. If a car crashes, I mean, it sucks, but it's a car crashing. But a robot that can maneuver wherever it wants, and it can hold. So they have a few versions of those same. They're called the DigiDogs. They have a few versions of those that actually stand up on 2
Oh
feet,
yeah.
and it can hold weapons. Like there was a video that was it was
Yeah.
obviously CGI. It came out like what I want to say maybe like 5-6 years ago, but they've already made that version for the military.
Um, changing the subject to bring us back to the short that we watched today,
The funny robots.
the funny robots. Have you guys have you guys gone to IMDb and looked at the cast list for this episode? I'm not sure if you haven't, it's fine. I just want to point something out.
I was today
No, I
years old.
haven't. I'm doing it
So
right now.
when you go, you watch this. This is obviously the episode is called 3 Robots. So we have KBRC, which is the chatty little tiny robot. We have Xbot 4000, which is the tall, skinny robot. And we have the box-looking 1145G robot. Why am I mentioning this? Is if you go to IMDb, you're going to find 3 credits, but only 2 of those are the 3 robots.
Yeah.
So you have Josh
I see
Brenner
here. We're missing the
plays
robot
AVRC, we have Gary Anthony Williams, who plays Xbox 4000, and we have Chris Pernell, which is the voice of the cat. But nowhere in there you see 1145G, which is the box-looking lady robot. Lady, I say lady because it has a female voice.
Yep.
Obviously, it's not a lady; it's a robot. Did you know?
I see here why.
I find it so clever, so freaking clever.
Yeah.
The voice for 1145G was not credited to anyone because no one actually did it. There's no actors.
Yep.
This was
It was an AI.
it was not even an AI. It was a text to voice generator. So
Yep.
someone wrote
Oh,
text,
wow.
pressed the button, and the generator generated the voice. And we find tons of those online where you can just type the text, press the button, and hear it.
Yeah.
And it's so
Yeah, that
cool.
makes sense because to get the human voice to sound that consistent and like it's. But even then, it sounds. There's still some points where you hear her talking, you could still hear like that little bit of emotion in there, So it's not super flat. So
Even
I'm kind of impressed by that. Yeah,
even
that's kinda
even
cool.
when it said stop being a whiny pussy and fucking bounce it.
Please. But I think that speaks to the storytelling because it is obvious that they wrote around this and made it part of the story. Because if you listen to 1145G, you know that this is what it would sound like for a type of robot like that to talk. Very
Yeah.
and I find that interesting because I mean I don't know how often this happens. It's definitely not many times in my perspective where I see a voice not being credited to anyone because it was generated artificially.
Show me
It's
what you've
cool.
got, big boy.
And it works. It really really works.
Say
The
terabyte. Click, click, click.
go team, go.
Yeah, it's funny. Out of all the robots, I think that's like the funniest one.
Yeah.
It just
And
makes sense. Like that
Yeah.
robot just makes total sense. The other two are more like they don't. I mean, I know they're trying to like figure out what humans are, what they were or whatever. But like you could tell that she's
no,
just
but
like
they're
she's a
humanized on the
straight up
character.
robot. She's like the logical one, and the other two are just like they have some emotion programmed into them.
Yeah. Another thing that I want to bring up that I found really interesting with this movie doesn't have many of those, but the ones that I did find, they're really clever. And this is specifically noticeable from the very beginning of this episode when we see a terrain that is a post-apocalyptic view of a city, and you see skulls on the floor, and then you see this foot crushing the skull. Well, it doesn't stop there, right? Because
That was totally playing off Terminator 2.
it's playing with Terminator 2, and not only that, right? The design of Xbox 4000 also plays on the Terminator franchise, as well as its name, Xbot. So notice how it's T4000 at the end. So I don't know. I love Terminator, so I found
and it has a laser weapon on its shoulder.
Yes, and doesn't it look like the one the T1000s normally carry?
Yeah.
So that's basically not only the robot itself, but the opening of this is a homage to the movie The Terminator from 1984. And of course, I would have to mention The Exploding Kittens reference. It's
I love that game.
I find that hilarious. I have the game, but what I find hilarious is the fact that we have 3 robots going through this post-apocalyptic city where no humans are, and they are forming ideas on what was human life like prior to this event, based on information they found on what I like to think is some sort of future of the internet, right? And you could see how they get it so wrong and right at the same time. And this is something that it echoes what our very resident mad scientist Ray has always mentioned on previous shows, how context is important, because they're figuring this out. They're sitting down on this couch, they're looking at a cat, and they're like wondering, what the heck is this? What is this supposed to do? They don't know nothing about it. The cat is actually being a cat. We know this because by observing the behavior and knowing what we have experienced in our own personal life, we know what the cat is doing. It's doing cat things. It's the normal thing of a cat. It gets off whatever couch it was on and gets on top of the robot. Now, these robots have never seen a cat before, and all the experience they have is basically information they found on whatever type of internet they have. So it's interesting how it's like, okay, what is it doing? What is it doing? Right? So it goes in the lab. It's like, well, maybe if you pet it, it will go away. Well, as soon as they say that, if you ever had a cat, no, don't do that. If you want it to go away, the worst thing you could do is pet it. But why did they get this idea? Because they searched on whatever internet they had at this time, and they figured that whenever there's an interaction between humans and cats, there's possibly a image of a human petting a cat. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is, and my future comment is to bring out the point of context, how they're getting that they get the right information, but they're assuming the wrong thing with it. It also assuming with the fact that the cat will explode based on a game that they found on whatever internet that was called Exploding Kittens. We all know that it has nothing to do with, it's a game, right? But these robots have no context, and they're getting this information and they're making with it what they can. What do you guys thought about that? I found it very, very, very interesting how the writers and the creators were actually playing with our emotions with that,
Clever.
with
Clever.
that scene.
There's this strange rhythmic kind of noise that's emanating from it now.
It's purring.
It's almost as if you thought about like the opposite end, right? What if you grab the human and you put him in a cybernetic world? But like, what would he? And obviously, humans, we can't retain the information of like a terabyte computer. It's kind of impossible to know all these things. But if you get a human and you put him in a world where everything's like electronic, electronic trees, there's cybernetic sidewalks, whatever, everything's electronic. Like, think about that experience for you. Like, what the hell is this thing? How does this thing work? It lights up, you would freak out. Is it gonna explode? Like, you wouldn't know what it's gonna do. So I kind of put myself in the opposite situation, and you got to kind of view it from that side. But yeah, I think they did a great job trying to explain it. Whoever wrote the script definitely knew what they were trying to portray. Especially in 12 minutes, which is what's very surprising. In 12 minutes, you get all this information. So
I don't want to panic you or anything, but I think you've activated it.
It's gonna explode. I mean, this movie is filled with things like this. Like, for example, I don't know if you remember this. There's 2 specific moments when the 2 robots are in the diner, right? And I remember. Let's see what everybody remembers. But the first one that I want to call out, it's when 1145G is responding to, I don't know if it was KBRC or was Xbox 4000 that was talking about where they came from, the humans, and 1145G came out and said, oh, the humans came from an all-knowing old being that created them out of nothing. And then small pause. It's like, no, just kidding. They came out of hot soup.
Warm soup.
Warm soup.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I caught that one. That was pretty funny. Like they're even trying to figure out like the existence. You know, they're like, what the hell? They have no clue what humans are.
Yeah. So that brings me to the next part in the diner as well, where they're trying to explain, the food that they see, which they don't see it as food. That I don't know what they call it, but it's like they put it in their entrance orifice, and then they have how they call their teeth.
Rocks, like something rocks. I forgot what it was.
They use their
Rocky pigs.
Rocky
pig.
Rocky pegs.
Rocky
Oh yeah, the
pegs.
Rocky pegs. So they're using the Rocky pegs to destroy this thing, and then once it's destroyed, it goes into the acid vat inside, and then you see Xbox 4000 say, "Oh, that makes sense," because I use a battery, and then the other KBRC says, "But wouldn't it make a lot more sense if they just put it on an acid vat first?" And then they wouldn't need the it's so clever to see how these three robots are trying to make sense of what it is to be a human being.
Well, they're using
they
their
have no
own
sense
context.
of organic matter. Yeah.
So their own context is, you redesign it and it works better. But you can't just redesign a person that, have an acid vat on the outside.
Yeah, their whole process is like, oh, just make it straight to the point, just make it efficient and make it work. So because they don't understand what biology is. They don't understand, they just don't understand biology. They don't understand organs or like,
Can they use a battery?
That was funny. I forgot what he called it. A what is it? What's those batteries called? In vector? What is it? What did he say it was?
Oh man, I forgot too.
An inverter, something inverter.
Yeah. 1145G said, but everybody uses that, you stupid.
Oh, we all have one of those, stupid.
This is it's still impressive to me that we have so much content in just 12 minutes.
Yeah, so imagine that small comment, right? Like, oh yeah, we all have that battery, stupid. Imagine now if you were put in another place and you found some kind of piece of machinery that runs on, I don't know, let's say some kind of like atom destruction machine or whatever, right? Or like a gravitron kind of machine. You'd be like, oh, this is mind blowing. This is incredible. And then they look at you and be like, yeah, we all use this, man. This is like common. This is like normal everyday shit for us,
Yeah.
It's like telling an ant, yeah, we use gasoline for our cars, It's like, oh, this is incredible. You can move faster. Like, yeah, it's common knowledge, man. Everybody knows this,
Yeah.
It almost reminds me, what it kind of reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of the first time that Fry got put into the world of Futurama, like in the year 3000, whatever the hell he's in, after being frozen for like 20 something years.
Yeah.
Like they just threw him in there. He was just like, "Where the hell is this? What like everything was fresh, and everybody's like, yeah, this is just normal, man. It's the way we live,
I really loved those stories. I mean, there's a couple of I think I've seen a couple of Korean movies that touch on that type of story where someone is frozen and wakes up in the future. It's really interesting because of the same idea that we experience in this short movie that we saw today, where you see someone experiencing something for the first time and trying to make sense based on the information they found. So it's really, really refreshing. And just the way, like, for example, how they called entrances. There's this there's what was it they called it? An entrance and exit.
The
intake
orifice, something intake
orifice.
orifice. Yeah.
Intake orifice.
It
Intake
took me
orifices.
They had a whole bunch of orifices. Things came in, things came out.
exactly. I felt it kind of took me
It
off
was
guard
crazy.
because it makes sense, but I never heard, I never heard of it being, described in that manner, but it makes sense. And it took me off guard because of that reason. And I think
It's
that
literal
speaks
description of it.
exactly. It speaks to the power of the writing team or whoever the creator of the story is. Is to they're able to place the viewer right smack in the center of this post-apocalyptic world, and everything makes sense. It just and that's what I call it, refreshing. It's a different perspective on something that we take for granted. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I would like to keep watching it. I would like to see if like, 'cause I want to know where the robots came from. Like, where did they just pop into existence? Did they come on some kind of ship? Did they stumble upon it?
No.
Don't spoil
Well,
it.
we're gonna be there for a while now with the cat.
I think that I don't know if you remember when they were making fun of Xbox 4000 that about his grandfather.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it kind of implies very smart in there that that's how far computers evolved to a point that they segregated themselves from humanity and went on and then came back when humans were not more, So that's what it tells
Oh, that makes
about
sense.
them. I think that it was very, very smartly done. And just like Robert says, it's the things that we take for granted because it shows it to you with that old age of forgottenness. You see the diner, there's no people anymore. You see the cities empty. You don't see humans anymore working in there. And literally, you're
that's human.
seeing, like I said earlier, you see a Chernobyl aftermath. You're seeing Earth growing without humans, all the plants taking over buildings, streets. Uh, I think that it was fully done. I mean, I've been dying for you guys to watch this because of that, and I cannot wait for you to watch the second episode. It just gets better, man. It just gets better. The
No,
combination
we're doing nice things.
of comedy with like dark humor, but at the same time, telltale of what humanity is headed to. It's just hilarious yet very, very informative.
I want to do Ice Age.
What? How's that sci-fi?
Is that sci-fi?
That's what I was thinking.
Ice Age?
I want to do.
I'm
I
not
want
gonna
to do
do
robot. I want to do.
I mean,
space
well, Robert
truckers.
thinks that Harry Potter is sci-fi. I won't even discuss at this point anymore.
Okay, I'm gonna give you guys some homework. So when we finish this episode, you go to Netflix, you find Love, Death, and Robots on season 1, and you go past the episode we're talking about, Three Robots, and after you pass that, I think is 2 episodes down, it's called Ice Age, and then come back to us. And if you are on, I invite you guys to come back on Discord. You can, if you're listening to, if you're watching on YouTube, you can scan the QR code, and let's talk about Ice Age. And if you're listening on the pod, I want you guys to reach out to us on the link. The links that is on our description. Reach out on Twitter, and let me know what you guys think. So now back to this. Do you know now? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I think so.
It's somewhat different from the series of movies from Disney.
Yes. Oh, yes. There is and there is not a happy ending all at the same time, if that makes any sense.
Schrodinger's icebox.
So it's not like Game of Thrones.
It is and it's not. All at the same time.
The wall.
So if you watch the episode, you know what I'm talking about. And again, it's probably 12 minutes too. It's all those episodes are really short. So Okay.
Is that the
So-
episode of the two brothers?
No. It's a couple
No,
that
okay.
just moved into an apartment. And
Oh yes, the fridge.
The fridge.
Yes.
Oh,
my
yeah, I've
God,
seen
bro.
that. I know
It's
I've
so
seen this
awesome.
before. Yes.
That's
it's one of my favorite episodes.
Ray. If you haven't watched it, Ray, you're gonna love it.
Oh no, I know it. I know it.
So yeah,
So
the
we all
Ice Age.
watch it. Nice.
Just imagine the titles are kind of like anime titles. You know, they don't make sense. Well, it kind of makes sense for this, but
Literally.
I guess we have reached the point of this show. The part of this
Point of no return.
the no return. And if you are watching on YouTube, you know what we're talking about. I'm not going to give you any context because if you're not, you want to subscribe. Go to our YouTube, press subscribe, and you want to share it with all your sci-fi friends because that's what I do. So we have come to the point of no return, just like Miguel said, and we are going to ask our last thoughts. So I guess I can go first.
Do it.
And tell you my last thoughts.
Do it.
Do it. Do it now.
We have kind of gone through. I think I have said everything that needs to be said about this episode. But the things that I want to point out is, it's 12 minutes. You could watch this while while you take a break, right? This is so short. It's incredible. But the length of the story, don't let it fool you. It has a lot of content, especially if you are the type of geek as I am, where you could actually explore so much content in the story. And you probably heard in this episode from almost everyone in this episode talk about how much information there was and how impressive the story could exist with so much content in so little time. It actually speaks, like I said before, to the power of the story tellers of this, the creator of the story. It touches topics that are dark in a bright way, if that makes sense. It also touches about our possible road to the future if we continue on the way that we are today. That being said, you could also watch this with an entertainment eye. So let me explain. If you're not like me, that I overthink everything,
Really?
you can ask my co-host here. They can attest to that. This short could be really short. You can watch this 12 minutes and you can enjoy it because it's very pleasant. And it's in a way, it's kind of like my typical Disney movies, if that makes any sense, where they're talking about very dark topics, but in a very funny and bright way. So it is a very enjoyable watch, and in that aspect, I believe that you might find it way too short, because you're going to be engrossed in the story, like you have heard from us here talking this episode. You're going to be left wanting to know more about the story.
So lucky there's an episode of this in every single season.
Exactly. So there's at least 2 more episodes on this whole thing in this TV show. So my last thoughts is this is definitely a worth watch, if not for the time that it would take you. to just watch it. It's the whole thing with, beginning to end is 15 minutes, but the content is only around 12 minutes. So 12 minutes, you could watch it on your phone when you're having a break. That this is how short this is. And I found it very, very entertaining. And it was a fun watch. So that is my final thought.
And Rob had the final thoughts for all of us.
I've got some final thoughts.
Dun, dun, dun.
So when you look at somewhat serious topics and you're talking about a rather disastrous future of the end of humanity as you know it, and whenever you try and approach these topics from our perspective of the people who are looking down the barrel of going extinct, people get emotional and upset and don't take the information in. So the conversation doesn't happen. People stick their head in the sand. They don't want to know about it. They don't want to think about it. It's not something that they want to deal with. And exactly. But I feel that in presenting it in this way, completely out of context and putting a humor angle on it, people can enjoy it as entertainment, but it will also leave them thinking. And that's one of the important things about science fiction, is to make people think beyond the content of the show. And as you can tell from the length of this show here, it's just ticking over 1 hour 57 minutes, is that 12 minutes of humorous dialogue about the end of humanity and why can generate at least 2 hours of discussion. So I think that it's achieved its goal. Yeah. And that it is something A, worth watching, and B, worth discussing. So, have a watch of this and get on our Discord and discuss it with us, because, this is important stuff that we need to think about. And we don't want to end up being a footnote in the new Android overlords history books. So let's not have that happen.
Or the cats.
Yeah, or the cats. Where was my cat's one?
And I don't know if you want to go. Miguel must have a different perspective because he saw it today for the first time. So I usually love to hear perspectives from someone that has seen a topic fresh versus me, for example, that have seen this episode so many times. The perspective is usually a lot different.
I remember some of it. Not maybe I didn't watch the first episode, but I have seen like scattered episodes here and there on YouTube or like cutscenes. I actually remember when it came out. I just never really like delve into it. Would I watch it? Yeah, I would definitely prefer watching this over Event Horizon any day. It's a lot. it's more to the point, It's just like there's never a dull moment with it, Like I said, like some movies you watch and it's like this B-roll and it's just like filler stuff, until it gets to the final.
You can't sleep at night, and
yeah, this is like very TLDR. Too long, didn't read. You want the information, just go watch it. It's entertaining, very short to the point. You could probably get maybe 2 to 3 episodes out if you can on a lunch break at work or something, and you'll have 3 episodes and you'll have a full story of what it's about. I would definitely watch it. I like the animation. I like the modern kind of like CGI animation. I like the topics that they talk about.
Yeah.
It's very eye opening. It makes you see things from a different perspective. So it kind of puts you outside of the box of just not thinking of like, oh, this is our little dimension box and we're right here and nothing else exists. No, it kind of moves you from here to like all the way over here, and you got to think about like, damn, that is kind of true. Like like you said, the thing with the stomach acids, you would never thought about it that way, right? You'd be like, yeah, that is kind of stupid. Why do we have to like munch our food and then put like why is this process not so much faster? But yeah, you can't because we're biological and they're not. So I would definitely, it's dark moments, but also it's comedic moments. So if you're somebody that likes both of those, it's the dark environment with the comedy. So I like it.
Nice. Awesome. And now I guess we're down to our very own Captain of Chaos, Captain Chaos, and he's the one who actually suggested
Now I'm
this
captain
for
of
us
the
to do.
chaos.
Captain of the
So, what is your final thought, Captain
Sommer is
Chaos?
finding new ways to make my name longer. Final thoughts? What comes to the final thoughts? Finals?
Final thoughts. The final thoughts of the Captain Chaos.
Final thoughts of Captain Chaos.
Oh, like me talking shit up. Make your peace. I everybody to watch this. It's educational. It's hilarious. Everybody should watch, even for the heck of it. It's those IPs that I tell everybody. It doesn't like you will enjoy it. You don't have to be a sci-fi lover for it. You can be a sci-fi lover for it. You don't have to be into science, or you can be into it. I think it's smartly done, and it's something that is for everybody's taste. Like it's how can you say, it's apt for everybody, for the family. It's a fun thing to watch. I think that, I mean, there should be more things like that out there. I think that the whole series of Love, Death, and Robots is fantastic. It's short, but just like Miguel said, there's not a dull moment because it's so short that they convey everything in this short period of time. It gives you a lot more to think about. I mean, they could make whole series of this, and it will be great. I think perhaps. So my final thoughts are, it's a whooping 10-star reviews, and everybody should watch it. And I'll leave it at that, man.
Awesome. Okay, so we are going into our last segment.
The science in sci-fi.
Science.
And this is the part of the podcast where we talk about the science within the story we just watched.
You got to help me because my drugs have worn off and my brain's turning to mush.
He needs
Take it
more
away,
drugs.
zombie.
Give him drugs now.
I really do.
He must go on a quest for the drugs.
So
I blew my nose earlier. It was like the Ecto-1 trying to start after it had been slimed.
Oh wow. So there's a couple of things that I can point out about this short film. I mean, there's a lot more, but there's two that I want to point out. The first one is robotics, for obvious reasons. This episode features 3 robots who are exploring a post-apocalyptic world. The robots themselves are an example of modern robotics technology, which involves creating machines that can perform tasks and minimal. Well, actually, in this particular scenario, is even farther into the future with no human intervention. And that is combined with what we are starting to see today in artificial intelligence. I mean, it's not a surprise to know that if I say, for example, Bard, or if I say Midjourney, Leonardo, ChatGPT, then you know I'm talking about artificial intelligence. And this is something that has basically just exploded recently. And knowing that this technology is as advanced as it is, combine it with robotics, we get what we see in this episode. So those two things I just had to mention, because artificial intelligence, I like to think right now that is in its infancy. Artificial intelligence depends on a technology that is called machine learning. So I have seen examples towards the beginning of experimentation with machine learning when they had a simulation of a stick person, and they actually throw that stick person, they added some machine learning, and they added the goal: you need to walk straight, right? So it is very interesting to me that without any more information, with only the goal in mind, you could actually see this simulation in the computer graphics, very small, it doesn't have the pixels that a video game has. It's basically a stick person. And you see that stick person get up and fall, get up and fall, get up and fall, and learning from every fall. And towards the end of that video, you see the stick person actually walking based on what its own experiences were, learning from the fall, which you guys have actually heard us talk in previous episode about the importance of failure. We are in a society where it doesn't look good when you fail, right? People make you feel bad, and it is sad because failure is what teaches you. You're never going to learn from someone else's success or your own success. You're going to learn from the failures. So it is obvious, very extremely obvious from this technology that it's actually using failures to learn from itself. And this is very like the very rock bottom of the technology, because now you have this technology and you plug it into the internet. It has a window into humanity, basically, and it just continues to learn, and that's how we can see technologies like, let's say, Midjourney or Leonardo, where you can actually give it text prompts, and based on the text prompts, it will go out into the internet, look at what you're telling it, compare millions and millions of cases, and come back with an example of what it thinks is what you're looking for. And machine learning is also involved in this, and the fact that it also learns from its failures. So when you actually tell it that's not what you're looking for, and this was very, very commonplace within the beginning of this technology, where you asked it something, it came out with something that you're like, okay, this is not what I wanted. And you give it a, depending on what you're using, you can give it a thumbs down or tell it, no, that's not what I wanted. The machine learning within that artificial intelligence knows, oh, okay, I did this bad. So the next time it has to perform that task, it knows from that mistake. It learns from that failure. Same thing happens when you're using something like, for example, ChatGPT. And you ask it to do something, and it gives you something it's not what you're expecting. It actually learns from that. And this goes beyond this is just some examples that I can point out, but the technology of artificial intelligence imbued with machine learning extends to things like speech recognition, visual perception, decision making, natural language processing, and this is the part that it's actually starts to scare people, because now you're thinking, okay, and learning is exponential. The machine learning technologies within the artificial intelligence is exponential. So the more time passes, the more things it learns. So this is where things become scare for humans, where people start saying, we're going to lose jobs or this thing is going to take over the world. I still think, to this point, that artificial intelligence, it is a tool. And as a tool, could be used for good and for bad. So I would say don't be scared of the technology itself, but the user of that technology. It is a tool. And as a tool, it has the potential of changing humanity forever. It is up to us what that forever will be like. Just think back in time in history when fire was invented, when the wheel was invented. Those are pivotal points in human history where a tool was able to change a civilization. I believe this is our pivotal point in today's world. It is a tool that is going to change humanity. It's how we use it that is going to dictate our future.
Well, I'm glad you're hopeful about it.
Well, it is a tool. I mean,
It's
when
but the governments, or governments, any type of technology that you make, and Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about this a lot, that any kind of technology that they come across or any kind of science that they discover, the first thing that they want to do is militarize it, make it into a weapon, and then get parts of that and then ship it out to the public, public at large. I think that AI is gone. It's already beyond what we know, because whatever they release to the public, they've already been processing this for 15, 20 years in the back end in the military industrial complex, right? They're not going to put out something fresh that they don't understand to the public. Because if it can be weaponized, then somebody will figure it out. So they have to put like the safeties and securities behind it. I think it's way more advanced than what we think it is. Especially now, you see it's coming out with one thing is when you have like a visual thing, right? Like what was that picture maker that you were talking about, that you type in whatever you picture and then it kind of makes it for you?
Mid-journey.
Yeah, like Mid-Journey.
Leonardo.
But now they have these. This is like a new thing. I've never even seen this before, and I'm curious to see how this is going to affect people in the future. But they're making these AI girlfriends now. That it's an app on your phone you download, and she can talk. You'll have a full conversation with her, and she'll talk to you, reply to you depending on your tone of voice. She'll know what to say. She'll send you pictures. Yes, the spicy ones too. And pretty much like you're chatting with an online girlfriend, and they're starting to look very realistic, to the point where, you ever seen those PowerPoint presentations that are AI?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yes.
starting to look like that, where it looks like a real person that's chatting with you. But it's an AI. You could change her whatever appearance or his appearance however you want.
I think that that you spoke about, the virtual girlfriends, has a very positive thing, very positive result on humanity, because there has been, and you probably hear this all the time, and depending on what culture you're in, like for example, you see this in Japan a lot more, where men and women are lonely, not because they choose to be, but because of how life ends up. And loneliness has a toll on the human psyche. We are social animals, and when we need to interact. This is not isolated to Japan, and this is why we have the what is it they call the birth rate being affected. Although the United States is not that type of culture, you see that happen here too, where someone's life has placed them in a place where they don't have that ease of interacting with other social beings. Like for example, we saw a real bad case of that when COVID hit for the first time. But even taking COVID away, there has been people that have been placed in these positions where they are not. It's not easy for them to meet someone, to meet a friend, to get to meet a girl or boy or their special someone, and they're lonely. And because we are social animals, loneliness leads to depression and leads to a lot of other really negative psychological issues that comes from isolation. I applaud that technology because I can only envision how many people's lives it would save by giving that person a way to communicate. And I don't know if you guys agree with this, but I've seen some documentaries, mostly in the Japanese culture, where you see men and women going home to an empty house, and it's very depressing, to me at least, to be living in a situation like that. And this is not going to solve the issue, right? Don't get me wrong, but it would give an avenue for those people to express themselves and have a conversation with an AI in this case. But I like to think that it minimizes the chance of that person suffering some severe depression that would end up in something a lot more, a lot worse than what it needs to be. What do you guys What do you guys think about that?
I would disagree. I think that it's gonna make the problem worse because what was the difference from watching AI than watching I can't say the word, that's spicy content online.
Well, I'm not talking about necessarily that. I'm talking about a conversation. An it could be text conversation, it could be audio conversation, a normal conversation. When someone comes home and says, "Oh my God, I had such a hard day. I need to tell someone."
Yeah,
And have
but the way it's being marketed, it's being marketed in the sense of like it's marketed as a sexual thing, not just a conversation thing, right? But it's just like anything. It's just like
Absolutely.
when you look at the guys who talk to the OF girls, like the OnlyFans chicks, right? When they get it with this girl, they just
Yeah.
chat back and forth, and they get nothing out of it, right? All they do is sit down and they just take in her content. So if you really think, if you put that in the context of talking to a girl who does OnlyFans, right? It's kind of the same thing as talking to an AI. Even though she's a real person, this is an AI. They're becoming indistinguishable. So
Yeah.
I think that
I
that's
think
worse
I
for
think
people
that it's
because
gonna
it
destroy
puts them in a
hookup
place.
culture.
Yeah, it's going to put and let's be honest, most of the people who are like people who want to have intercourse but can't, they're called incels, right? So it's involuntarily sexual. Like they want to be sexual but they can't, right? Most of those people are men.
Yeah.
In at least in the Western world. Japan has a different tradition. Their women are a little bit more traditional in the sense that they do things, but it's still getting westernized. But at least in the U.S., UK, and like the British places, the Americanized Western areas, Canada and stuff like that, it's getting to the point where only 80% of men are the ones that are actually having intercourse. So tying the AI into that, it's well, what? How do we get here? We have to think about how we got here, right? There's a reason why you can go online right now very easily and you can find the spicy content that you want. You can go to Pornhub, or you can go to whatever, and you can find whatever you want. There's a reason behind it. I don't know how deep I should get into this on your podcast. I don't wanna say anything that's gonna come off wrong, but um
keep it scientific, and
I'll
then we'll
try to
be
keep it
okay.
scientific. Yeah. Over the years, if you look at, I'm just gonna say 1970s, you've seen men getting demasculated over the years, right? So you see The first thing that we had was there was the big rights movement. Then now you have the whole thing going on with the people that are transformers. Then you have the big explosion of like this whole sexual industry with OnlyFans, right? The more that that's progressed, the more men have become incelibate. So like social media only helped men that were already at a certain social status level, and the ones that weren't there, they didn't get anything because it opened up a whole social network, right? So like if you go to Instagram, right, and you find the one guy that has a million followers and he has a verified check mark, that's usually the guy that all the women will tend to go towards. So 20% of guys are sleeping with all the women, but 80% of men aren't getting anything. I think it's only going to make that worse, and I think the reason why it's getting made is because I think that it's almost as a way, it's being used as a piece of suppression for men.
Okay, so
The only thing that is gonna hurt, I think, in there is that it's gonna kill hookup culture. Because those men that are incel are not gonna are gonna have their needs meet by somebody that is always there for them, meaning these, you know.
I
So
wanna
they're not gonna have the
I
need
wanna
to go
men-
out there to create a need that doesn't get fulfilled.
I want
So
to
it's gonna
mention
keep a lot of okay.
He's a little slow. He's a
yeah,
little slow. You gotta get.
yeah, the conversation, there's a lot of things that I disagree with, on how this, what was said in this conversation. I don't know if Ray agrees with any of those. I, I don't, but however, I don't feel this is the venue to continue those conversations. Basically, the reason why I was bringing it up, and the point that I was trying to make, it was towards that small group of people that are lonely.
Yeah, but the thing is that it's not a small group.
It's gonna eradicate that.
I was trying to avoid to say a specific keyword, but I seen cases where the specific person has turned to suicide, and that is
If
what
you're
I'm
if you're
talking.
gonna put it on YouTube, you could say deletion. Don't say. I get you. But
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not comfortable where this conversation is going.
yeah,
However, I feel that in that context, it helps alleviate, because the reason why these people suffer from what they suffer is because they don't have a way to vent. And this is a very small, very tiny avenue to vent, but it's a way to vent. And that's all I was saying.
yeah.
I know that's a bigger
it-
topic.
It's not just sort of in that sort of having somebody to talk to for young people who can't find partners, but also people at the end of their lives. There's a real shortage of counselors and
Exactly.
workers in end of life care,
Mhm.
and these AI conversationalists, you might say, are taking the place of those people who just aren't available to provide that care and that attention that people lack as they're heading towards the end of their lives. It's all very sort of band-aid measures, really. The big problems is, like the way society's stratified and people just aren't getting together like they used to because they're too busy with their careers, and they realize too late that they didn't have kids when they should have, and the birth rates dropped, and In some countries, there's a gender skew, so there's a whole bunch of one sex or the other looking for somebody because there just isn't enough people to go around. And then, of course, there's all these bulges and inverted pyramids of the age distribution of countries' populations, which is going to cause and is already causing a whole lot of problem in places like Japan and soon China. It's all just kind of screwed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of screwed.
Yeah, and I understand where you're coming from, Miguel and Gio, and this is what I call perspective. So my perspective.
I didn't really get to say what I think.
Yeah, please don't. My perspective is based on my personal experience, and we have talked about this in previous episodes where I am who I am based on my experiences. That doesn't make me better or worse than the next person. So you are who you are because of your experiences. So the perception on this technology will be different, not only to everyone here talking, but everyone listening to our pod. Because there's just no way.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own personal perception based on their experience with the thing. In this case, is the technology and the topics around that technology. So yeah, that's all I'm saying is, and again, I said, even when I was talking about it, I did say it's not going to solve the issue by no means, but I am happy that it's providing some sort of.
I think that we kind of talked about two different products, right? Because there are products where you can go and you can just have a chat with a therapist, and it'll cost you about the same that this AI will cost you every month, right? But the problem is the AI that's specifically targeted for just these things, for these sexual things. I think that's where the problem is going to be. And yeah, you can still talk to them. They'll still reply and talk to you, but the way that they're being marketed is being marketed as a fantasy.
There has been products that I have seen that I have used. They are strictly for text, for not text, for conversation.
Yeah.
They're not marketed as sexual.
Yeah.
So again, this is where I'm talking about our perception based on our experiences. My experience and I am aware, don't get me wrong, I am aware of the ones you're talking about. I've seen them. But the ones that I'm talking about, and it surprises me that you haven't seen the ones that I'm talking about. They're not.
No, I have.
They're completely free. At least the ones that I've seen. They're marketed as a way to have a conversation, to have a friend. And they are, as a matter of fact, if you force them to go that route, they will kind of change the conversation in a very sneaky way, in a very AI sneaky way, in a way that it doesn't make you feel bad. So if you say, for example, send me nudes, right? You will notice how it would actually change the conversation in a way
that I agree with. If it's used in that way, yes.
And those are the ones that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But
So
I see
okay,
we're
talking about, yeah. Because I don't think. I mean, to me, I think it's better if you really do. Like, I'm not really a social person. I don't go out too much. I go out maybe like once a month, and I'll meet people, and I'll if I really feel that urge. But I think it's better if people were to just go out, and I think that we're being too like individualized. Like society kind of takes a little bit of humanity away from you every day. So people are becoming more introverted. They're more locked in their houses, especially after 2019. We don't know how to talk to people anymore. Like, even after 2019, even though I wasn't locked up in the house all the time, it was just working home. In 2020, when I came back, into the world, and I was at a store, I found it very difficult to communicate with people. And it was only like, you don't feel it because you're entertained by TV, you're talking to coworkers. That's one thing when you talk to somebody that you know, but when you go up to somebody you don't know them, that's where do you get social anxiety? What do you say? Those kind of things. I think it's better if people practice that, because obviously the human to human interaction is a deeper connection than through a screen.
Oh yes.
But
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I know. I agree 100% with that because.
But if
we
if
are
it
people
the
around.
ones that you're talking about, that I would agree with that. If it does help somebody get out of, at least open up their mind to going outside and having conversations, then yes, I would agree that that's the better route to go.
The ones in Japan, there's one specific one in Japan, and I can't remember the name. They call it a virtual girlfriend. They're basically a holographic girlfriend that sits. It's an actual equipment. It resembles like a glass display that you set in your living room. And when you open the door, this virtual girlfriend will greet you. It's like, "Hello, honey. How was your day?" Those were really impressive to me. I guess because of the naming, this could be used for both ways. I question how, because it's like this glass. It's I don't even know how to describe it. It looks like a glass cabinet that you put in
Yeah.
your living room, and
It's kind of like that
project-
movie with I forgot the name of the movie, but they took his brain and they uploaded it to a CPU. I don't
Mhm.
remember if it was Tom Cruise. I don't think so, but they got
Ah.
his memory and they uploaded it into a CPU, and his
Johnny
wife
Depp?
was with him.
Johnny Depp.
I think it was Johnny Depp, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Johnny
I
Depp?
seen that one.
And then at
I've
the end of the
seen
movie,
That's
he
it.
like
I've been
reformed
dying for the guys to watch it.
nanorobots. Yeah, that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
kind of like that where they have a
I've been
plain
dying for the guys to
glass,
watch it.
and you can.
Yeah. So yeah, that even that is it warms my heart, because I can and I don't know, maybe I'm watching too many Japanese societal documentaries, where I just feel plain bad for someone. We have someone, especially me, right? I do have a wife. I come home, or she comes home, and we greet each other and we ask about our day, and that's being coming from that perspective, seeing what I seen in this documentaries just crushes me. If someone opens the door, no one's waiting for you. And having this technology come in and say, greet you. It's like, "Hey, honey, welcome
It's all
home. How was your
perspective,
day?"
Robert. When I do that,
Uh,
I'm like,
Yeah.
great. Nobody.
I mean, I have a theory of how we got there, but I think, like you said before, this is not the space to talk about it. But yes, there's a reason that we got there. Especially I'm surprised that, I mean, it's Japan. I understand their technology is like 20 years ahead of the U.S., but I'm surprised that even in Japan that's going on, because if that's going on in Japan, they're using that technology. That means over here in the West, it's probably way worse than it is over there.
Yeah, it happens. Many people don't know, because I guess our culture, we try to like hide the negative stuff, so
Yeah.
you're never going to hear. But yeah, it does happen in the U.S., where you have someone that comes home to an empty house, and it's sad, right? So that's just my hope, my bright hope for the future, that this puts a little silver lining, and helps in a small way to those people.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you. If it's a healthy way of using it, that's not going to, like, give you an endorphin rush when you do certain things to it, you nasty people. then yeah, I agree that it's definitely beneficial, especially for Rob was saying, for Ray. Why did I confuse your name with Ray and Rob? What Rara was saying. Yes, if it's gonna help also elderly people who are, unfortunately they might not have anybody around, then yeah, I do see that beneficial. If it's healthy, if it's not giving you the endorphin boost, if you know what I mean.
yeah. Awesome. Okay, so thank you everybody for being with us one more episode. Just remember, we starting to write articles on our website. So reach out to us and let us know, if you like them, if you don't like them. There, all you have to do is go to sciencefiction.com, and you can click on the blog menu button to see all our articles. If you don't want to miss the articles, we do have a newsletter. You can actually subscribe to our newsletter right on the website. So if you go to sciencefictionremnant.com, scroll just a little bit down on the right, you'll see the form to put in your email and subscribe. Then you won't miss future articles. There is an article coming very soon. By the time you hear this, it's probably going to be out, but it's going to be about the movie Metropolis, which is, Captain Chaos' favorite silent film.
I told you not to make me laugh.
Scan the QR code now. Scan it. Scan it, you bunch of pigs. Just scan it and do it a thing.
And let's keep the conversation going. Scan the Discord, join our Discord. Let's talk about this episodes. Let's talk about future episodes, and talk to us. Talk to Captain Chaos. I know you're dying to talk to Captain Chaos. I keep on hearing comments that like, I heard this episode and I wanted to interject so bad. And it's like, well, which of the hosts you want to interject with? It's like Captain Chaos. It's always Captain Chaos.
Yeah.
So let's continue the conversation. Reach out to us. There's a scan for Discord. If you're listening to this, you'll see a invite link in the description. And let's continue the conversation. So again, Miguel, thank you so much for being on our show. You're
No
almost
problem.
becoming a regular.
I have my own setup now, so I can do this easier.
You're almost becoming a regular, and I am not complaining.
Thank you for having me on, guys. I always appreciate it.
Awesome.
Even though I have to watch everything last minute, but yeah, now I know. Next time I'll watch it a little bit earlier. Thankfully, this was only like 12 minutes, and I'm like, all right, cool. I got it.
Thank God it was 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, we watched it with you again just to refresh our memories.
Yeah. So we kind of, yeah. So
I was the noob.
For all of our listeners who maybe caught up to this podcast halfway through, can you tell them where they can find your stuff?
You can find me on IG. Head over to Miggz Angel, Miggz Angel, and you'll be able to see all my highlights there. I have my links to Spotify, my new Twitch channel where I play MMORPGs. Currently playing RuneScape, and I do the voice acting. I do a little bit of comedy stuff on there while playing the game and trying to get through it because we all know that's annoying. And yeah, I'm music producer. I do all the fun stuff with audio. I worked with these guys, and I've worked with a few other podcasts, writing their music and doing their audio production stuff. So yeah, hit me up if you guys want any of that, or if you guys just want to come and chat along.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much. Again, you have no idea how much we appreciate you being with us week after week. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your support, and your engagement means the world to us. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and we hope to see you on our next episode.
Bye for now.
Goodbye.